A symbiote is an alien entity that requires a host for survival. In exchange for the sustenance that a host provides, the symbiote can grant its host great power. Sometimes that power involves the ability to transform with the host into a hybrid form, providing the combined entity of the host and symbiote great power and other strange abilities. Venom is the classic example of a symbiote as we know it today, and that combined entity is a symbiont. Or if you want to use the name that I came up with in the homebrew class I designed to allow you to play a symbiont like Venom in your home games, it's the Keeper class. In it, you play a character that is the keeper to the host of this alien symbiote, and together you can unlock incredible strength and a wide variety of different abilities, like the ability to assimilate your foes, taking your enemy's strength and making it your own. Or you can infect your allies with that symbiotic connection that you and your symbiote share to allow you to better support them, or even corrupt your foes with that same ability to bend them to your will. And at every step along the way, you evolve and adapt as the symbiote changes the actual nature of your body and your hybrid form, all in order to better hunt your prey and make you and help you reach the apex of evolution. If you're interested in checking out the class, it's available for free or for pay what you want on the DMs Guild. There's going to be a link at the top of the description. But in this video, I want to give you guys an overview of the class and talk about some of the features that I really enjoy so that you can potentially see if you'd like to play a Keeper, especially since the new Venom movie is coming out soon. So a Keeper is just a regular adventurer. They're not particularly notable in any way except for one, which is the force of their personality. This is important because when that adventurer has a chance encounter and bonds with that alien or otherworldly entity, it's the force of personality that will allow them to maintain control and strike that fragile balance between being consumed by the symbiote and being unable to access any of the power that the entity could provide. It's together by using their force of will and personality, their charisma ultimately, as well as the entity's natural tendencies and natural design, that the Keeper is able to unlock its great strength. Alone, neither piece is too interesting. The adventurer is not too skilled, and the entity doesn't have the mental faculties to really use its strength well. It needs a host in order to thrive, and the adventurer needs some other source of power in order to reach the potential that they may achieve. And while that unison of both parties is extremely powerful, it's also dangerous because each party tries to contend with the other for control. And as the Keeper, as the humanoid in this arrangement, you have to enact and entrust that you can hold on to control of your body and of your desires more so than the symbiote can usurp them. We're going to quickly walk through each of the levels of the core class so you get a sense of what the Keeper is all about and how they'll actually play in the game, how the interaction between the host and symbiote works, and the kinds of abilities and powers you'll have access to. At level 1, you get what ultimately is the core of the Keeper's abilities, the ability to trigger a transformation into a hybrid form where your symbiote covers you in an exoskeleton that provides you with certain resistances, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing, as well as immunities to disease. It increases your armor class, and this is going to be your core element. You only get a few of these transformations every day, and they work a lot like the rage mechanic of the barbarian. You also get the ability to trigger your symbiote to manifest into a weapon. It's not a weapon like a sword or an axe. Instead, it's just a natural weapon, which at the beginning starts out as claws that you can manifest whether or not you're transformed. However, if you're using your symbiotic weaponry while transformed, they're obviously more effective, and you can actually use your bonus action to make an extra attack. At level 2, stuff starts to get complicated. You've been drawing on power from this symbiotic entity, and in doing so, you've managed to strengthen yourself and level up. At this point, the strength that your symbiote has been feeding from you allows the entity within it to awaken, returning to sentience, or perhaps becoming sentient for the first time. It's at this point that you have some narrative decisions which are actually important mechanically to the character that you play. You get to pick an origin for your symbiote. Perhaps it's elemental in nature, or perhaps it has an abyssal origin, or even celestial. It's kind of up to you at this point, and the actual document has some suggestions on what you can do there. In addition, you get the divided mind feature. Divided mind reflects the fact that now there are two minds within your body. There is your mind, that of the adventure you're actually playing, and that of the symbiote now occupying it and speaking to you as well. The symbiote is awesome because it's another character, but ultimately it's not so far out of your control. It's just an opportunity for you to have some interesting roleplay triggers to use with the rest of your party, or perhaps to give over to your DM and make more compelling. The fact that there are two minds within your head make it harder for you to actually be charmed and deal with those effects, because the symbiote kind of acts as a protection to those external influences. There's already something influencing your mind in some light ways, and it doesn't want any other influences to meddle. However, it does come with a few curses which you may be able to overcome in time, but at the lower levels they are challenging. The two curses are tongues and wrath. Wrath makes it harder for you to attack any creature besides one that attacked you the previous turn. You can't turn your attention away from a direct threat that's already hurting you. The symbiote within you wants to take it out, so you need to actually roll for control in order to do this. The other curse is tongues. Now that your symbiote has awakened in your transformed form, you can no longer speak any other languages but the one that you picked for your symbiote. Like I said, it might be celestial, it might be abyssal. Ultimately, it comes down to the origin that you choose and the nature of the symbiote that you like from a narrative perspective. And finally, with your symbiote coming to power, you also unlock adaptations. Adaptations are like the Eldritch Invocations of the Warlock class. It's why I consider this class to be a hybrid of the Barbarian and the Warlock. You get a lot of that raw strength, but a lot of also the adaptability of the Warlock and the, I guess, malleability of the Warlock too. There's a whole list of adaptations to choose from, and some are gated by the subclasses that you have access to, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But some of the adaptations you might choose from include such things as increasing the range of your natural weaponry, so that rather than just claws, you have a pseudopod that can reach out to up to 10 feet. Or perhaps you want expanded dark vision, or a whole host of other options. There's, I think, about maybe 30, if not more, different adaptations to be chosen from. And like I said, some are gated by your subclasses, some are gated by levels, but at second level, you get to pick 2 to start with. By the end, you'll have about 8 adaptations. You get access to an additional adaptation every few levels or so, and every time you level up, you can switch out one of the adaptations you already know for another one, so that you're not stuck with the same ones. Then at level 3, you get to pick your evolutionary calling. It's a combination of both your personality and your symbiote's personality, the way it's kind of is by nature. And that influence of those two factors allow you to evolve in a substantial and important way that is distinct from other symbiotes. There are currently 4 different evolutionary callings that you can choose from. The first is assimilation. Assimilation is all about being able to take the strengths of the enemies that you're fighting and make them your own. At the earlier levels, you're able to sap health from your enemies to keep you going through a long fight. Eventually, you're able to even engulf them and steal some of their resistances or some of their different speed capabilities. For example, if you begin to assimilate a creature with flight speed, you would be able to eventually gain up to half its flight speed. Of course, that's far later on, but that is the path that assimilation takes you down. You make your enemy's strength your own. The second of these paths is cooperation. Cooperation is not so much about taking advantage of your transformed hybrid form. Instead, it's about using those transformations to add a symbiotic tag or link to your allies. The allies that you tag with your symbiotic link gain some of the protections of your hybrid form as well. And it allows you to share senses and share languages. There is a whole host of applications for this that go far beyond just combat abilities, though the combat is an important one because while you guys are linked symbiotically, you can actually share the damage that each of you sustain with each other. If you go for a taking build, you can potentially link yourself with a weaker ally so that you're taking the damage for them. Or if your build is a little softer, link yourself with the tank in your party so that they're able to absorb the damage for you. Eventually, you're able to induce mutations into your allies, which are essentially just spells that you get access to, that you can catalyze so that they affect Not only you, but your ally as well. Cooperation plays to the hive mind idea of using the telepathic connection that you and your symbiote share in order to allow you to better coordinate with the allies in your party. Then you have corruption, which kind of takes things to the other extreme. Rather than infecting your allies and using that to help them, you try to infect your enemies. Once you've done so, you can afflict them with terrible diseases as your symbiote actually alters and changes their biology, or you can try to usurp their mind and dominate them in time. And finally, you have predation. The evolutionary calling of predation is all about making you the strongest, most effective hunter that you can be, the top predator on the food chain. Rather than taking the strength from your enemies or helping your allies or trying to corrupt your foes, you're just better at tearing them apart, and you enhance your hybrid form so that it is stronger, able to do more damage, and able to take out just about anything in its path, dealing massive amounts of damage in short amounts of time. In this way, all the different subclasses of the Keeper allow you to engage in very different playstyles, and each have some fun, unique mechanics of their own that give you access to either spellcasting or some really unique abilities that you wouldn't have to otherwise. It'll keep combat and the other parts of the game engaging for you and give you an active role in them. Levels 4 and 5 are pretty standard. At level 4, you get an ability score improvement, and at level 5, you get your extra attack. This is the only extra attack that the Keeper class gets. At level 6, you get the magical entity feature, which makes attacks that you make with your symbiotic weaponry magical in nature. At 7th level, you get amalgamated mind. It reflects the progress that you've been making in binding with your symbiote. You're starting to stray away from being two separate entities and becoming something greater than the sum of your parts. This makes it easier for you to resist the compulsions and compelling of your symbiote to the things like wrath, and also makes it possible for you to speak any language that you know and are proficient in while transformed. At 9th level, you unlock the Retribution class feature. Retribution is a really core feature of the later levels of the Keeper class. The symbiote that you are bonding with is now acting almost as a second mind, acting on its own while you're not necessarily paying attention to protect you. After all, it's tied to your body, and so it wants you to survive. It's not really so much about taking you over as much as it is about protecting you, because the way that things are going, you two are becoming inexorably linked. Retribution reads, when you are targeted by a melee weapon attack within reach of your symbiotic weaponry, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack and make your own attack with your symbiotic weaponry against the attacking creature. You can only use this a few times a day, but as you level up, it deals more damage if you hit. It's kind of that moment of someone charging up to you with an axe and you being caught off guard, and so your symbiote lashes out on your behalf to stop the person from hitting you without any control of your own. Again, I did all this before the Venom trailer, but obviously I took a lot of inspiration from Venom in this, so it makes sense that there would be some overlap. At 11th level, you get Superior Symbiosis. This reflects the fact that you and your symbiote are realizing that you're stronger together. It doesn't really mean much to be apart anymore, because together you have greater strength and you're starting to be on the same page about more things. You've each influenced your personality in different ways, and as I said before, you're becoming more and more one entity instead of two distinct ones. At this point, your transformation lasts longer, 10 minutes instead of just 1, and you have a way to stay in this form even when you're knocked unconscious, allowing your symbiote to take control of you so you can keep fighting when your body has failed you. At 15th level, you unlock Symbiotic Dependence. This feature makes it possible for you to access the natural healing properties of the symbiote and apply them to yourself. Once per long rest, you can use a bonus action to surge, giving you a second wind-like recovery ability, where the symbiote expends as part of its natural healing properties to accelerate the healing within your own body, so that you're able to stick into the fight longer and longer. Again, like I said, this class is like the Barbarian in some ways in that it's kind of relentless, and you'll be able to take a lot of punishment. Most of the actual rest of the utility and different abilities that you get come from your subclasses or the adaptations that you choose. And finally, at level 20, you get your capstone. This is Symbiogenesis. You now no longer have to roll with anything that your symbiote wants to make you do, and your transformations will only end if you choose to end them or you fall unconscious and don't use your other feature. So that's the Keeper class. The Keeper can be played as a really solid support class, either buffing your allies or debuffing your enemies. Or you can play it as just a straight out damage dealer in the front lines, using that transformation to add survivability. Each of the different subclasses play completely differently from each other, and it would be too long for me to dive into each one of them, But I encourage you to go to the DMs Guild, check the link in the description, and download it if you like it. It's completely free. You don't have to pay anything if you don't want to. So feel free to check it out, and I hope you enjoy it. I had a blast homebrewing this class. If you randomly came to this video, my name's Jeremy, by the way. I make videos every Friday, and usually they're about something creative, typically about Dungeons & Dragons, and also, I guess, about some of the homebrewing stuff that I'm doing. So thanks for watching, and I guess I'll catch you guys next week.